Welcome to this series exploring innovation, progress and achievement using a technocentric paradigm by Ash Stewart.
Please see the provided Substack link for the original.
TecC Debrief, the Bronze Age masterpiece, integration, innovation and the seeds of collapse.
This third-party analysis examines the extraordinary intellectual journey across TecC episodes 12 to 20, where Ash demonstrates how the complete Bronze Age cycle, from supreme technological integration to catastrophic systems collapse, illuminates fundamental patterns of human innovation that echo into our present moment.
Framework Foundation.
Before diving into the analysis, it helps to understand Ash's approach. He's identified recurring innovation patterns that appear across all human societies and time periods. Things like how foundational breakthroughs enable everything else, or how existing elements combine into revolutionary new capabilities. He also draws insights from multiple fields, anthropology, engineering, economics, systems theory, to reveal connections that single-discipline approaches miss. Think of these as pattern-spotting tools that make hidden connections suddenly visible, turning what might seem like separate historical events into part of a larger story about how human innovation actually works. This should help make his cross-disciplinary approach more accessible to everyone.
A comprehensive analysis. How 9 episodes construct a complete innovation cycle.
What Ash has accomplished in episodes 12 to 20 is nothing short of remarkable. A complete demonstration of how human innovation operates at multiple scales simultaneously, from individual technological breakthroughs to civilizational systems collapse. This isn't just historical narrative. It's a masterclass in how to think about innovation itself. A build-up to integration. Episodes 12 through 14 reveal something profound about innovation that most treatments miss entirely. The Horse, episode 12, Wheel, episode 13, and Bronze, episode 14, weren't just separate technological developments. They were complementary innovations that, when combined, created capabilities exponentially greater than their sum. Consider Ash's treatment of horse domestication in episode 12. Rather than the typical humans domesticated horses summary, he excavates the evolutionary context. Horses developed horsey faces to eat grass while maintaining 350-degree vision for predator detection. Evolved to sleep standing, became supreme runners, fleeing rather than chasing. Then comes the crucial insight. It's the combination of humans and horses that's been the most potent. But episode 13 transforms this insight. The wheel isn't just another invention. It's an epistemological puzzle that Ash brilliantly explores. How do we comprehend? How do I take us, even myself, back to a pristine mental or epistemic state? To be able to then effectively and accurately trace and enunciate the progress made. His exploration of the constancy amid motion, stability amid change. Paradox reveals the intellectual breakthrough underlying the physical artifact. Episode 14 then demonstrates how bronze metallurgy required not just technical knowledge, but institutional innovation. Trade networks spanning continents to source scarce tin. As Ash notes, Bronze Age Brian has or will have a greater number of epistemic or intellectual artifacts in his repertoire to draw from compared to Stone Age Steve. Much human innovation, especially as things become complex, was and is anything but lone wolf alongside cumulative. It was often collaborative. The Linguistic Archaeology Revolution, Episode 15's methodological breakthrough. Episode 15 represents one of the most innovative pieces of historical analysis you'll encounter anywhere. Ash takes William Jones's 1786 observation about Sanskrit's relationship to Greek and Latin and transforms it into what he calls verbal archaeology, a scientifically rigorous method for tracing cultural and technological diffusion across millennia. The methodology is breathtaking in its elegance. Rather than relying on material artifacts that decay or disappear, Ash shows how language preserves linguistic fossils of technological and social developments. His demonstration of how krekwelos, the Proto-Indo-European word for wheel, evolved into our modern cycle, chakra, and wheel, isn't just etymological curiosity, it's scientific evidence for how the horse-wheel-bronze integration actually spread across continents. But the real genius emerges in his treatment of the word for fame, glory. The pai, kleos, from kleo, meaning to hear, becomes Greek kleos, Sanskrit shravas, Slavic slava, and Germanic loud. As Ash reveals, this ancient word for fame, renown still lives on, one that lives on in thousands of words we use every single day. The implications are staggering. Every time we use the word loud, we're echoing a 5,000-year-old Proto-Indo-European concept of fame as being heard far and wide. Ash has discovered a method for recovering the cognitive world of our ancestors embedded in our daily speech. This is genuine intellectual archaeology, conducted with scientific rigor, yet accessible to any curious reader. He promises that once you get a hang of this, your brain will start to throw up these hitherto never thought about connections, sudden dig-ups in your head of verbal archaeological finds, in a very satisfying process I call wordgasms. This isn't just clever wordplay. It's an invitation to discover how the past lives within our present language. The Institutional Revolution, Writing as Mind Extension. Episodes 16 to 18 reveal another level of Ash's analytical sophistication. Writing isn't just record-keeping technology. It's the foundational innovation that enabled complex institutions by allowing humans to outsource the mind. Episode 16's exploration of writing's origins demonstrates Ash's gift for making complex developments accessible. His Brian and Bruno narrative of scratches in mud evolving into sophisticated symbol systems captures something essential about human innovation: how accidental discoveries become systematic technologies through iterative refinement. But the deeper insight emerges in his treatment of writing as enabling delegate the storage of knowledge off their brains. For the human brain is not designed to be a memory store as much as a pattern-matching and reasoning apparatus. This single observation reframes writing as a cognitive prosthetic that fundamentally transformed human capability. Episode 17 then shows how this prosthetic enabled something unprecedented: institutions, not just organizations, but entities that behave as if it were an entity in itself, as if it had a mind of its own. The state emerges as more than government. It becomes a form of collective immortality. As Ash beautifully concludes, just as writing allowed parts of the mind to outlive its physical/biological existence, institutions have allowed man to, in a sense, outlive one's own physical existence. Episode 18 reveals how markets emerged as a fundamentally different institutional form. Bottom-up, rather than top-down, with prices serving as information signals across vast networks. Ash's exploration of Bronze Age trade networks spanning from Afghanistan to Cornwall shows how institutional innovations enabled material ones. The Precision Revelation, Episode 19's stunning discovery. Episode 19 delivers what may be the most jaw-dropping factual revelation in the entire series. The Indus Valley Civilization achieved measurements accurate down to 0.13 millimeters or 0.005 inches precision arrived at again only in the 1900s of our era, more than 4 millennia later. Let this sink in. A Bronze Age civilization achieved sub-millimeter precision that wouldn't be matched until the modern industrial era. And this wasn't just technical achievement. It was implemented across a territory spanning more than 1 million square kilometers, without apparent centralized coercion. Ashe's comparison with Edinburgh's Gardy-Loo practice, residents shouting warnings before emptying chamber pots from windows into streets, continuing till the 1930s, provides devastating context. The IVC had covered hygienic drainage systems from every dwelling 4,500 years ago, while modern European cities were dealing with human waste in streets until living memory. But Episode 19's deeper achievement is Ashe's lament for lost knowledge. Why is it that we have lost such great developments of human progress and innovation, sometimes gone without leaving a visible trace? This isn't just historical curiosity. It's a profound meditation on how civilizational knowledge can vanish completely. The Systems Collapse Masterpiece, Episode 20's Contemporary Relevance. Episode 20 represents the culmination of the entire sequence, a sophisticated analysis of how complex systems contain the seeds of their own destruction. Ashe demonstrates that Bronze Age collapse wasn't just ancient history, but a template for understanding systemic vulnerabilities in our own interconnected world. The analysis is remarkably prescient. Bronze Age civilizations built elaborate trade networks to source scarce tin for bronze production. This interdependence became their strength, enabling unprecedented prosperity and cultural exchange. But it also became their vulnerability. When environmental factors triggered trade disruptions, the entire system collapsed within decades. Ashe's insight about centralization and interdependence as both strengths and weaknesses applies directly to contemporary challenges. As he notes, within our lifetime, we have had two systemic events, in 2008 and 2020, with huge repercussions and ramifications. The 2008 financial crisis and 2020 pandemic revealed exactly the same pattern. Highly interconnected systems experiencing cascading failures when core assumptions broke down. Episode 20 isn't just about Bronze Age collapse. It's about understanding how complex systems fail.
Cross-disciplinary synthesis, achievements.
Linguistic evidence as archaeological data. Ashe's use of comparative linguistics in Episode 15 represents genuine methodological innovation. By treating sound changes as linguistic fossils, he reconstructs cultural diffusion patterns that material archaeology cannot detect. The systematic tracing of wheel-related vocabulary across Indo-European languages provides concrete evidence for technological spread across Eurasia. This approach reveals connections invisible to traditional analysis. When Ashe shows how Germanic hludaz becomes both German laut and English loud, preserving the ancient pi concept of fame as audible renown, he's demonstrating how cognitive patterns from 5,000 years ago survive in modern consciousness. Environmental technological interactions. The contrast between episodes 19 and 20 reveals sophisticated understanding of environmental technological relationships. The IVC's precision water management systems represent technological adaptation to challenging riverine environments. Yet episode 20 shows how environmental shifts, drought, volcanic cooling, river course changes can overwhelm even sophisticated technological systems. This analysis anticipates contemporary climate challenges. If Bronze Age civilizations with less technological capacity could achieve such precision in environmental management, what does their collapse teach us about our own technological confidence? Innovation pattern recognition. Across the sequence, Ash demonstrates pattern recognition that spans multiple innovation categories. Foundational breakthroughs like horse-wheel riding that enable everything else. Revolutionary synthesis like pi integration of horse-wheel bronze, where combinations create exponential capabilities. Organizational innovation like institutions enabled by writing that transform what's possible. System-level transformation, like Bronze Age networks, with their inevitable vulnerabilities, knowledge transmission patterns that preserve some innovations while losing others completely. Contemporary application framework. Episode 20's systems analysis provides frameworks directly applicable to current challenges. The identification of how centralization and interdependence create both resilience and fragility offers tools for analyzing everything from supply chain vulnerabilities to financial system risks to pandemic responses.
The discovery value proposition. Why this matters.
Hidden connections revealed. This sequence reveals connections that span millennia and cross traditional disciplinary boundaries. The PIE linguistic heritage embedded in daily vocabulary, the Bronze Age precision that wouldn't be matched for 4,000 years, the systems patterns that repeat from ancient empires to modern crises. These discoveries change how we understand both past and present. Methodological innovation demonstrated. Ash shows how rigorous analytical methods can be applied accessibly. His verbal archaeology in episode 15 provides a template for cross-disciplinary synthesis that any curious reader can practice. The promise of wordgasms, sudden recognition of linguistic connections, isn't just playful language, but an invitation to active intellectual discovery. Pattern frameworks for understanding innovation. The universal innovation categories aren't just analytical tools, but practical frameworks for understanding how innovation operates. By mapping Bronze Age developments across these categories, Ash demonstrates that innovation follows recognizable patterns across different contexts and time periods. Contemporary relevance beyond historical interest. The Bronze Age collapse analysis provides frameworks for understanding contemporary systemic risks. Episode 20's insight that complex systems can collapse rapidly despite apparent sophistication offers essential perspective on our own technological confidence.
The synthesis achievement.
What Ash has accomplished in episodes 12 to 20 goes far beyond historical narrative or even cross-disciplinary analysis. He's demonstrated how the technocentric paradigm, viewing both material artifacts and institutional innovations as technology, reveals patterns and connections that traditional approaches miss entirely. The sequence shows how innovation operates through accumulation and integration rather than linear progression, how institutional technologies amplify human capabilities, and how systemic sophistication can create new forms of vulnerability. Most remarkably, it connects ancient patterns to contemporary challenges in ways that illuminate both past and present. The linguistic archaeology of episode 15 alone represents a significant methodological contribution. The systems analysis of episode 20 provides frameworks applicable to current challenges. The precision revelations of episode 19 force reconsideration of assumptions about technological progress. This isn't just impressive scholarship. It's a new way of understanding how human innovation actually works. The Bronze Age emerges not as primitive prehistory, but as a laboratory for understanding fundamental patterns that continue shaping our world today. For existing subscribers, this analysis reveals connections and implications that reward careful rereading. For potential subscribers, it demonstrates the intellectual sophistication and contemporary relevance that await in Ash's technocentric exploration of human innovation and progress. The question isn't whether you have time to read this series. The question is whether you can afford to miss insights this profound about how innovation, progress, and systemic change actually operate in human societies, insights that apply as much to understanding our current moment as to appreciating our remarkable past.